Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Monday, October 28th, 2019, and today we're going to be taking a look at the 2020 House predictions from the Cook Political Report. Now, this is an actual, election, congressional type nationwide elections. We all know what the House elections are. That isn't really being discussed that much. There are a number of retirements. I'm pretty sure the number is above 20. I'm thinking 22 right now because there was an announcement of retirement today, and Katie Hill just resigned from her seat, but there's a whole number of things going on for the 2020 House elections. Now, this isn't exactly pivotal to show whether or not the general public is against the president. We saw it back in 2018 with the Democrats winning back the House majority, and to be completely honest, this isn't going to prove as much as a statement as the general election might. I mean, it's just a House election at this point, and the majority, based off of this map, will likely retain in the Democratic Party's favor. Right now, we're taking a look at the Cook Political Report's predictions for each individual district. There are some districts that have still yet to be characterized, and they do tend to leave a number of them as toss-ups once we actually reach the general election. And that's just how most polling firms and political companies go, because a lot of them don't want to actually make a call, which I understand. Sometimes there are races that I personally do not feel comfortable calling too much, even though it may seem like I'm trying to avoid actually clarifying a winner when we have two candidates that are fundraising the same, polling the same, being approved of the same, showing the same type of enthusiasm. It's pretty much just like flipping a coin as to these House elections. And a lot of them do end up being very, very close. So we're actually taking a look at this map. A lot of these districts that are currently, up for grabs right now, they were very, very close back in 2018. We're looking at over here in Utah, which actually, this was a flip. This race actually over here, Utah's 4th district, if I'm not mistaken, or it could be the 2nd. But I could be wrong about that. But I just remember that it was called for the GOP candidate, and then they withdrew the statement, and then they projected it for the Democrat, withdrew it again, and then finally projected it for a Democrat, officially certifying a win. There were a number of calls back in 2018, actually, that ended up being wrong characterizations early on. I'm pretty sure California's 21st district was that way. I locked the map here just because it always goes crazy when I zoom in. But there are some districts, very small districts actually, if you get into California. Mainly the smaller districts are going to be Democratic districts, because when it's smaller, it means that it's in a more urban area. Keep in mind the population over here generally should match the population of one of these smaller districts. But California, to be completely honest, does not have much to offer in terms of close districts. We see a lot of lean and likely characterizations here, or safe Democratic seats. The Democrats definitely picked up a number of seats in California back in 2018, and it doesn't look like they're switching anytime soon. I did not mean to move that one. I'm pretty sure I moved another one before, but over here in New Mexico, this district over here actually was very, very close. A lot of people did not expect this one to go to the Democratic Party. In fact, a lot of polling firms, or not polling firms, political companies like Cook Political Report, I don't know what's happening. This is what I mean why it goes crazy. They pretty much characterize that one for the GOP. But if we're taking a look at some of these other districts, I actually need to unlock this again. Like Maine's 2nd district. This was a flip back in 2018. This is an area that Donald Trump flipped from the Obama column, which was a pretty substantial Obama victory back in 2012 and 2008, flipping it into the Trump column by an enormous amount. We look over in New York, we see some open seats, not open seats, toss-up seats over in New Jersey. Actually, only one in New Jersey, and actually New Jersey was had a lot of pickups for the Democratic Party in comparison to where they had started off. I mean, it went from a pretty reasonable majority for the Democrats, something you might expect in a closer, blue state. Still a Democratic state, but not as close, but it's just 11-3. Sorry, not 11-3, 9-3, if I'm not mistaken. Let me think. New Jersey, 14 electoral votes, so it should be totaling up to 12. I just know that the Republican Party lost a number of seats in New Jersey, which is definitely not a good look. The Republicans lost a number of seats everywhere, nationwide. Just the toss-up districts right now they probably aren't going to be focused on too much, to be completely honest. The Democratic Party and Republican Party are not hedging all of their bets on the House elections like they were back in 2018. This is not where the entire momentum is going to be going to. These people are going to vote in these elections because it's on the same ballot. We saw the energy back in 2018 because there were Senate and House elections. Same thing this time around, but we have a presidential election on top of it, and turnout is always higher in presidential elections. And actually, if you look at the midterm turnout, it rivaled the 2004 and 2000 presidential elections. So based off that alone, we definitely should see a lot more people voting this time around. I'm actually really excited to see the actual numbers once it comes out, because if it's anywhere near 70 million for either candidate, that will be insane. It'll be a huge spike in turnout, which I do completely expect, because Donald Trump and the Democratic Party definitely have some people that are definitely going to inspire the vote, even if they may not win the nomination. And it should be pretty interesting for the final result. But looking at the numbers, just a number basis, 194 for the GOP and 218 for the Democrats. Now, keep in mind, you need 218 for for a House of Representatives majority. Right now, the Democrats currently have that. They're hedging their majority right now off of 18 lean seats. You see those in the light blue, the lightest blue that you see on the screen. And that makes sense. I mean, a lot of these seats are going to end up being pretty close. But the Republican number right now is very close to what the Democrats had pretty much throughout after 2010. They made back some states before, then lost them again in 2014, then got a couple back. I think 194 or 195 is the area that it pretty much landed on. But even if you take away those 18 lean seats, they still have 200 in the likely or safe column. So they're still ending up better than where they started back in 2016. But if we look at a couple of these toss-up districts, looking at a number of them, they are going to end up mostly going to the Democratic Party if the enthusiasm continues. Even if the GOP wins every single toss-up district, all 23 of them, they still lose the House majority, and that's just not a good look for them. This is the same thing that the Democratic Party, this is the same uphill battle that they entered going into 2016. A lot of people thought because Donald Trump was on the ballot, the House was going to end up being in play. And the thing about that is, it made sense at a point in time when Trump was behind Hillary Clinton by 12% nationwide, and Republicans at a total were looking like they were going to enter into a big defeat in the Senate, losing in Pennsylvania, losing in Wisconsin, which didn't actually happen. Both of those went to the GOP nominees in the Senate races, even though they were expected to go to the Democrats. We saw in Indiana, that one was actually expected to go to the Democrats, surprisingly. Ended up not going. A number of these states in the Senate did not go. But the Democrats picked up 6 seats in the House of Representatives back in 2016. Typically, these presidential elections do actually favor the Democrats in the House of Representatives. With President Trump winning, the Democrats still picked up 2 in the Senate and 6 in the House. That's not too much in the House, but that's a pretty good amount in the United States Senate. We are actually seeing some pretty close Senate races coming up to 2020 where the Democrats could actually end up 50-50, and if they win the presidency, they're officially in the majority. So the House of Representatives races, a lot of it's going to be contingent on the Republican Party bringing in candidates that can win in these likely, possibly safe districts. The only reason why I'm mentioning safe districts is because we actually zoom into Oklahoma here. In Oklahoma's 5th district, this was not considered a toss-up. There was a little bit of speculation actually on my channel comments. I remember reading it early 2018 about people discussing whether or not it could actually be competitive. I looked at the Cook PVI. I looked at recent election results. I was like, absolutely not. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all of them had rated it as either likely or safe GOP, wasn't even considered a toss-up, and ended up going for the Democratic candidate. I think the final vote was 50.7%. So obviously going to be a close race in 2020. Probably will be a GOP pickup if Trump wins the presidency. But even if it is, even if all 22 other seats are, again, the Democratic Party remains in the majority based off of this map. Now, obviously, some of these predictions could be wrong. I'm going to go ahead and compare it after the 2020 election. But just looking at this early characterization of the map, it doesn't look too good. There's a number of generic ballot polls out on Real Clear Politics you can actually go ahead and check out. And the Democrats are actually starting to build up a momentum nationwide in the generic ballot. It's not the biggest victory or biggest biggest margin that they've had back in 2018. We're at points where they were up by 10%, but we're seeing a 6-7% nationwide lead for Democrats. And if that happens, they're definitely going to hold on to the House of Representatives. The majority is practically safe at this point. However, as you move closer to the election season, a lot of the House election results will end up being determined by who the Democratic nominee is. If there isn't someone who can inspire the voters, the Democrats, I still think, will hold on to the majority, just lose a number of seats. But let's say they get someone who can actually inspire voters in these states like Iowa. They have 3 contested districts and 1 likely Republican district. In fact, that likely Republican district was considered a toss-up back in 2018. So all 4 districts were considered toss-ups, and to be honest, they were, just because of the incumbents in there. And then we look over at Minnesota, we look over to Maine, to New York, to New Jersey, to Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania to Virginia to New Mexico to Texas, over to Arizona, even though they don't have a toss-up seat there, over to Utah, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, California, all the states with toss-up districts. The Democratic Party, this may not be their number one priority. Obviously, that will be the presidency and then followed by the Senate, but the House of Representatives still need some attention. If there's a Democratic candidate that can inspire the masses to come out in droves, like an Obama-type candidate, we could actually see an increased House majority. It seems like a stretch for right now, but let's go ahead and characterize actually just to see what would actually happen if all of the seats went to the Democrats. Let's see if I can actually find them all because I have to zoom into these super tiny districts. Oh, geez, I think I just flipped to Louisiana district. My bad. Yeah, they definitely don't have more than one. You know what's interesting, though? If you look back at early 2000, I saw this map on Twitter. If you look back to early 2000, there was a map drawn by the Democrats in Georgia. It was absolutely insane that anyone had ever let that pass. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to, compensate for it by flipping a random Democratic district to the GOP. But I'm going to go ahead and try to fill all these in just to see. I think this one actually might be tilt. Yeah, it is. You see it down there, a little sliver. But you pretty much get the deal. The Democratic Party would end up with a bigger majority than they do right now. Let me just go ahead and, oops, I did not mean to do that. Just add 4 to the Democratic Party. Puts them at 241. But that's pretty much what would be the, I guess, likely scenario if the Democrats are able to bring out a candidate that could actually bring out more voters than 2018. And to be completely honest, that's a fair estimate. We see a lot of Democratic candidates that can really inspire the crowds to come out the same way Donald Trump did back in 2016 or the same way Obama did back in 2008. It really all depends on who the Democrats actually pick for 2020. But this early characterization, I definitely don't think will be too far off from the final results. Republicans probably won't surpass 200 unless Trump wins the election. And to be completely honest, at this point in time is not the most likely scenario when we're going ahead to the electoral map, because the electoral map is wickedly easy for Democrats to win in 2020. They'd really have to mess up to lose here. But yeah, so that wraps up this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. I'll probably get on election night tomorrow or the night after between Elizabeth Warren and Donald Trump, or Joe Biden and Donald Trump. So I haven't decided yet, but I'll definitely decide by the time I make the video, obviously. But yeah, so again, thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I will see you all tomorrow.